welcome to Fluketronic. Up now, we're going to take a bit closer look at this new flute from Berthold Hinrichs, flute maker in Norway. So I gave a unboxing view of this and two others, and we're going to take a deeper look at this, kind of look at all the notes that I can get out of it, and then we'll do maybe a little bit longer playing sample. So yeah, let's get into it. So this is a really nice piece of Juniper that, as far as I know, Berthold harvested from woods around his home. So a lot of neat little figurines and colorations there. So very cool, very nice carving. Now, as I mentioned before, this is a Xiao tuned flute. So you get 7 holes in the front, 1 in the back. So standard Xiao tuning, at least for the first octave, and I'll get into more about the upper octave. Different style mouthpiece. So this is, I'm not exactly sure what to call this. You could call it a fipple. So you have a tied block here. This will come off. So he's actually carved into this so it kind of slides in. I'm not sure if we'll be able to see that. There's a little track there. And the block is actually carved on the bottom, so it kind of slides in there. So even without the, well, it does want to, yeah, you have to tie it. But it will sit right in the slot there. So this is kind of a, it's not exactly like a recorder block. It's kind of like that, but obviously it's exposed on the top to direct the airstream against, I guess you would call that a labium. And yeah, so you can move the block a little bit. Oh, am I getting it backwards? Yes. Okay, so I believe he has set it up here so that it's really flush with the mouthpiece here for the ideal position. But you can move it a little bit, and I'll show you what that sounds like a little bit later. Okay, so let's go ahead and tie that on pretty good. All right, let's look at the notes in the first octave. And let's see, I'll turn the camera so you can see the finger holes a little better. Okay, so the first octave notes are pretty typical Xiao fingering. Couple changes up on the top, and then we'll look at some cross fingerings as well. So this is key. The root note is E, so Chinese would call this a Xiao based off of the root note in the middle, but I usually think of this Xiao configuration as if the root was a C note. So I'm going to call all fingers covered the C note. So let's first go over the C major scale. So that's the first octave. Very familiar Xiao fingering. The only difference is the octave note is actually just all fingers down and the thumb hole uncovered. So that's a little bit different than your typical typical rim blown Xiao. And then let's look at some cross fingerings. Well, before cross fingerings, so the other cool thing about Xiao tuning is you get some of those in-between notes just directly on the flute. So you get what I would call the E flat and then the A flat, and then B flat is cross-fingered. So that lets you get a minor scale quite easily. So let's do the C minor scale. Should be a D note, right? There it is. So that cross-fingered note is a little bit different than typical rim-blown Xiao. So I need like these 5 fingers. So leaving off the top and the bottom and the back. So typical Xiaos would often just be the 3 fingers of the top hand. But that doesn't quite work on this one. Well, it does. It's a little bit flat like that. So I find the 5-finger version gets a little bit better intonation. That's it. Yeah. And then, so that means the only missing notes in the lower octave would be the half step up from the very bottom, so what I would call the C sharp, and then a half step up from the middle note, what I would call the F sharp. So the C sharp you're going to have to get with half holding the bottom, no other way really. You can also half hold the F sharp, but you can also get the F sharp with a cross fingering, kind of like G, really flat. So either way you want to do that one, so that that cross fingering option can be quite useful. Okay, so very fully chromatic in the lower octave. Upper octave on this one, I guess because of the Fipple Xiao and just the overall configuration, will not get a full 2 octaves. In fact, once you get up beyond the first couple, they're quite sharp. So you really have to apply some shading and breath control to get some of these upper octave notes. At least that's been my practice so far. So let's see if we can do those. So you notice there, it's kind of skipping. It's actually, by the time I get to what I would call the F, it's actually skipping the F and going straight up to the F sharp. And then the next note above that goes way up. So I think it's actually hitting a 3rd register by the time I get to what I would call the G. So let's see what's going on there. So that's going up another whole step. So instead of, what did I say, F sharp, it's actually getting a G sharp. So that's interesting. And that's about as far as I can get. We'll see if we can get any higher, but that's about as high as I can usefully get. Nope, C sharp or C sharp. No, about an A, I guess. I guess I'd call that an A. And really not getting up higher than that. So it is a little tricky in the 2nd octave. So as long as you're not trying to go too high, and you'll be okay. I guess that's just one of the limitations of this particular configuration. So unlike a rim-blown Xiao, you don't have a lot of control with, say, the tilt angle, and I'll show you when we take the deeper look at the C Xiao. I'll show you how that works. But with the Fipple there, you do have some limitations there into the 2nd octave. But again, some very useful options there as well. Hey guys, very quickly, so I was reviewing this video and realized I forgot to go over this technique of pulling the block back a little bit. Now, this is not the intended way to play this, but it's pretty cool nonetheless. So if you pull this back a little bit and you get a little bit of space between the end of the block and the cutting edge there, first of all, you get this situation at the beak, but you get this pretty cool raspy sound out of it that might be useful for special effects. But it also is going to ruin your pitch when you play it like this. But regardless, just listen to this. And the further back you pull the block, the more exaggerated that effect is going to be. So yeah, just wanted to share that. Pretty cool. Don't know if I'll ever use that just because the pitch does mess the pitch up quite a bit. So just for example, and then if I put it all the way in as intended, all right, enough of that. Back to the main video. Okay, so I wanted to do this one first of the three because I have a backing track posted by my friend Brent Adams recently in the key of F sharp minor. And so being rooted in E, F sharp is the second note up. So very accessible key for this instrument. So I'm going to play just a short version of that right now, and then I'll do a full version coming up on the channel, just so you can get a better feel for this instrument. So let's go ahead and cue that up. It's called Phantoms and Echoes by Brent Adams. Okay, so that is a sneak peek of Phantoms and Echoes from Brent Adams, and yeah, stay tuned to the channel for a full version of that. But for today, that's it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.